to get a $266 bill was a huge slap in the face.
Tonight at 6, water bills skyrocket in Westminster.
I've got a bill now that's $600.
I expected $300 this year, and I got a $518 bill.
Customers who can't afford to pay turn to Denver7 for help.
We might have to move. We can't do this.
Plus, mail sorting machines removed in Denver.
Still trying to nail down where our equipment was sent to.
And making the most out of a Democratic National Convention spent at home.
This is a convention they will remember for the rest of their lives.
From the look of the water bills, you might think Westminster is entirely to blame for Colorado's current drought.
But locals say they're not using any more water. They're just paying more for it. Here's Contact Denver7's Jacqueline Allen.
No, these poor things. They're dying for water.
Monica Carboni never thought she'd have to choose between paying her water bill or buying groceries.
This is my current bill that I owe.
Until her most recent water bill from the city of Westminster.
The total up here is $266.32.
A 60% increase over this time last year.
This is huge. I have to take grocery money to feed my son in order to pay my water bill. I feel that's wrong.
She's one of dozens of Westminster residents.
My bill went up $200, over 20%.
Reaching out to Contact Denver7.
I've got a bill now that's $600.
To report water sticker shock.
We jumped up about $120.
Homeowners sending photos of lawns they've let die because of big bills. Heather Griffiths usually pays about $120, but is now looking at $1,000.
We might have to move. We can't do this. I don't know what to do. This is incredible.
So we went to Westminster Public Works and Utilities Director Max Kirschbaum for answers. While there was about a 10% rate increase this year, he blames irrigating during a particularly hot, dry summer and people staying home for coronavirus.
We've also seen a total residential water use increase of about 33% over the last 4 months.
We checked though, and after the rate hike this year, the city has some of the highest rates in the region for high water users.
In 18, I voted against those. I was the only person who voted against those increases.
City Councilor David DeMott calls Westminster's recent rate increases too aggressive. He supports conservation, but
one of my concerns has always been what happens to property values when people can't afford to water their lawn.
Many residents, including Monica, want to know if new water meters are connected to the new bills, longer billing cycles, or a planned water treatment facility. The city says no to all. Not much comfort, though, when you see the bottom line.
I cried. I literally cried because I did not know where I was going to find this extra money.
In Westminster, Jacqueline Allen for Denver7.
As many as 100 people and several rival gangs were involved in a deadly shooting last night on Federal Boulevard in Denver. That's according to public safety head Murphy Robinson. 2 men were killed, 5 others injured. A half hour earlier, police were at an apparently unrelated shooting on a different stretch of Federal. A woman was killed, and police say she was sitting in a car and suggest she may have been caught in the crossfire.
Despite the surge in violence, Councilwoman Candy Sedewaka believes we should replace the Denver Police Department with a mostly unarmed peace force. And tonight, she's asking council to put her idea on the November ballot. Now, we asked every council member how they'll vote, and only Kendra Black got back to us, and she says she intends to vote no. The Grizzly Creek fire growing to 25,000 acres tonight. Earlier today, firefighters said it was just a mile from Glenwood Springs, and tonight, boy, we're happy to say that report was misleading. It is still 3 miles outside of town. Even still, conditions are rough out there. The wind is constant and the ground is bone dry.
Well, it wasn't Mother Nature, but human nature that Golden had in mind when it limited access to Clear Creek. As Denver7's Ivan Rodriguez reports, their plan seems to be working.
With heat continuing across the Front Range, you can bet on people flocking to Golden to float down Clear Creek.
It was a lot of fun. There were some calm parts where it was just relaxing, and then a few parts where it was a lot of drops and splashes and got you wet.
Hayden is new to Golden. In fact, he's a freshman who just moved into the Colorado School of Mines.
I think it's great just seeing the community flourish and small businesses like this. It's a lot of fun getting to interact with the community, especially since I'm new here.
Signs indicating Clear Creek access is closed are easy to find. The question is, why?
There's really no difference between sitting on a patio next to people, going to the park or the playground with the kids.
So people have started taking their tubes, walking alongside the creek for about 15 minutes until they're out of city limits, and then getting in the water. It's not news to the city. Instead, it's encouraged.
This was our way of balancing wanting people to be able to recreate in the creek as well as prevent the gatherings along the creek.
The city of Golden has park rangers and police alongside the creek enforcing social distancing and mask wearing. Last weekend, they spoke with more than 500 people and issued one citation. For some neighbors in the area, the city's move is a happy medium between keeping people safe and the economy open.
Personally, I think it's a smart move by the city because you want people to have a good time. You want people to be able to access the resources and have a fun float in the creek. You also want to try to reestablish some semblance of normal if you can.
After the last few weekends, it's clear people will continue heading to Golden to live up their last few weeks of summer, even if it takes an extra mile. Ivan Rodriguez, Denver7.
Meanwhile, coronavirus is already causing problems on campus. 155 students at Colorado College are being told to quarantine in their rooms for the next 2 weeks. They can leave only to use the restroom. Meals will be delivered. All this because one student tested positive and social distancing protocols were not followed.
And hiccups aside, Colorado is doing a much better job of dealing with COVID. Fewer than 200 cases were reported today. You have to go back to July 5th to find numbers that low. Hospitals are in as good of shape as can be hoped for. 240 beds are in use. Thousands more are sitting empty. And thanks to COVID, this year's Democratic National Convention will be held starting tonight virtually.
It is an adjustment for the candidates, but as Megan Lopez reports, a terrible disappointment for the delegates.
When it comes to American politics, the national conventions are sort of like a political speech meets a concert meets the Super Bowl.
Better than the Super Bowl, and I've been to the Super Bowl, so I know what I'm talking about.
Holly Baca,
That picture was taken at the 1968 Democratic Convention.
has been attending the DNC for decades.
I've actually been to every national Democratic convention since 1964.
However, this year's Democratic National Convention is anything but conventional.
The DNC is holding its convention virtually this year because of the pandemic.
An upset for veterans like Polly and first-timers like Giselle Diaz-Campana.
Obviously, I was very, very disappointed to hear that we couldn't go. For me, just the camaraderie, meeting people like me, meeting people that are not like me.
But as someone facing health challenges of her own, Giselle says she supports the decision to go virtual.
It's, to me, the ultimate challenge that we are all going through.
So does DNC member-elect Radhika Na.
Most of it is being streamed at people rather than with people.
She's a health policy researcher who understands the complexities of COVID and campaigning and knows there will be challenges with a virtual convention, like including everyone's voices.
There's no good answers here. However, we do have to have a better forum for participation by the people.
Perhaps the biggest challenge will be building momentum into November.
We have to do things differently, but we have to keep people engaged.
But Polly sees this moment as an opportunity, even with an unconventional convention.
I think this is a beginning of modernizing our conventions so that people perhaps will be able to participate, not just in person, but maybe online.
Reporting virtually, Megan Lopez, Denver7.
The convention begins at 8 p.m. It will air on Denver7 for 1 hour a night through Thursday. Michelle Obama is this evening's headliner.
And now to concerns about a free and fair election. The local postal workers union says 5 mail sorting machines have been removed in Denver. The top brass at USPS insists this is routine procedure and has nothing to do with the presidential race. Well, the union isn't buying it.
I honestly feel it's excuses, to try to move forward and make it harder for our people to cast their ballot this year. But to me, it doesn't make sense to remove the equipment we need right for peak season, right prior to peak season, when we're in a financial turmoil right now. I mean, we've paid our maintenance department employees, to dismantle all of this equipment, box it up and get it going to wherever they shipped it off to.
Union head Bobby Rollins also tells us he's heard of week-long delays in mail delivery. that he blames on both the removal of the processing machines and the ban on workers receiving overtime.
Denver and Aurora are both talking about repealing the ban on pit bulls tonight. More accurately, they're talking about letting you decide whether the ban should be repealed. Final votes are tonight. If this goes the way we expect, the measure will be on the ballot in November.